Hey guys, we're back this week for another Ask Mr. Regular. I'm the Roman, that's Mr. Regular. And so, yeah, just gonna kick it off with the questions. You can submit them on our subreddit, r/regular car reviews. Maggio Man wants to know, I think I recall you stated your love of engines and cars in general began with motorcycles. What prompted you to sell your bikes, and would you ever get another?
I sold motorcycles as a way to make money during college. I would flip them. I would buy one that hardly needed anything. Usually someone who doesn't know how to clean carburetors, like, oh, it's not running right. I think it needs a carburetor clean, but I don't want to mess with carburetors. I'm like, please, spray it out. Runs like a champ. Um, I didn't always hit home runs, but I knew it was half of it was just sizing up the owner. And the best person to buy a bike from is a father who just had a kid. Because mom sees that as now a death machine. Must protect family. Just get rid of it. I don't care how much you get for it. Just get rid of it. I'm like, I'll take that. And I'd ride it for a year and then just sell it. But since starting RCR, I've had so little time to enjoy a motorcycle that red GS500 that I had, Suzuki GS500 that I made a video on early on, where the whole not a car joke started. That car became a dog that I didn't want. Oh, gotta go take the dog for a walk. Oh, gotta go ride the motorcycle so the oil gets moved around, the battery gets charged. It became a chore to have the bike. I hardly ever used it. And also with motorcycles, you just don't, I'm just going to go for a ride. No, you got to go get your helmet. Then you got to go get your jacket. And then the bike has to be, you got to clean the, oil the chain. You have to do all this sort of stuff, which is fun. It's part of the experience. But when I only have a few hours, and then where do I go? I just ride down the same roads I already did. Plus, none of my friends, Roman doesn't ride, so there's no one to ride with. Hey, Mr. Regular, I'll ride with you. All right. And I'll get another one. In fact, I know the motorcycle I'm going to get eventually is going to be a Suzuki DR650S. I want the big single-cylinder thumper. Because the bike I miss the most is my DR350S. Now that was kickstart only, is a little limited on power. You could do the highway, but you're doing 65. That's it. Fun off-road, but I didn't really take it off-road. So, and that's a box I want to check. A big 651 lunger, dual sport. So I'll eventually get that. Was there a second half to the question?
Asking what your bike history.
Oh, I made a video about this. Let's see if I can remember every single motorcycle I've had. Starting with the first one that had no title. I bought that at the end of high school, 1980 50cc Yamaha Champ. Next bike after college, 1980. I think it was a 1982 Honda CM250C. Then a orange Suzuki GS500. That one had a Cobra F1 exhaust. It was loud as hell. After that, came a 1970 Honda CL175 Scrambler. Then, no, I'm sorry. After the GS500 came a 1985 Yamaha XJ700N. That's an inline four with 4 carburetors. That was the fastest bike I had. I think that was 80 horsepower to the rear wheel. Shaft drive as well. No chain, no belt. So it was like a car. I had that only. That was a winner. I only bought that bike for $500. Traded that bike for a 1991 one Suzuki DR350S, the bike I really missed. Sold that for a healthy profit. Didn't have a bike for a while. Then I bought when the itch came back, a 1970 Honda CL175 Scrambler. Sold that for a little bit of profit. Bought the red 1993 Suzuki GS500, because at the time I really missed the GS. The GS500 is almost the perfect commuter bike. It's so cheap, really good on gas, dead simple, fun, naked bike. And that I kept for a long time. White wheels, everything. And and this is where I started having multiple bikes at one time, because I lived in Kutztown and I had a glassed-in porch. Didn't have a place for a car, but I had this glassed-in porch with a locked door, so I could put motorbikes in there. So then it became the time where I had the GS500. The red one was really clean, really nice. That became the nice bike, and then I started buying dirty bikes, which honestly I had more fun with those because I didn't care about them. I bought this is one where I lost money on. I bought a 1985 Honda. Oh gosh, what's the designation? I think it's a GL 500 Silverwing. The Honda bike that had the transverse V, where they were trying to out-Guzzi Moto Guzzi. And that one had air shocks that you pump up with a bicycle pump. That bike ran fantastic. Ask Ted Stoltz about that. He rode that bike. He liked it. I wasn't able to sell that thing for a profit. I lost money on that one. And then I bought a 2000, a year 2000. Although I bought a year 2000 Honda CH80 Elite, a scooter, and that I rode all around Kutztown. That was a fun little in-town bike. It got the gasoline tank held 1 gallon of gas. That gas tank lasted 2 weeks, just riding back and forth to class, and that was a ball of fun. The only time girls ever hopped on a motorcycle was on that one. They liked the scooter. Honda never updated the Elite motorcycles. They were designed in the 80s and then never updated. They just kept cranking them out. So it was a vehicle from 2000 that had just 1980s styling. It was never changed. Sold that to a guy, made a profit on that, and now I was down to just the GS500. And no, I'm sorry, reversed. I had the scooter before I had Luxurious Linda, which was the name of the Silverwing. I'm sorry, they were switched. Anywho. And then, yeah, the GS500 was the last one I bought, and that was years ago, so I got rid of it. So that's my history with motorcycles.
Quick follow-up. Why didn't you turn a profit on the Silverwing? Did you just dump more money into it than you...
Yeah. I bought that bike for $300. It didn't run. It needed a lot. I think I spent about $1,000 fixing that thing up. It was just nickel and dime. Okay, it needs a new turn signal module, needs a new starter regulator, needs new tires, needs new brakes, needs new wiring. It was everything was $20. Yeah. I got that bike running in 2 weeks, but I'm like, every single day I'm spending $20 or $30, and I'm running back and forth, and then fluids, and then yeah, don't buy a junker bike and think you're gonna turn a profit on it. Build a bike that only really needs one thing, or better yet, needs no thing. The thing that really is gonna nick you on making a profit on motorcycles is the tires. Of all things, it's the tires. Motorcycle tires aren't cheap. Unless you're going to put friggin' Kino or whatever those Chinese tires on. You see a bike for sale that has new tires. And I'm like, what's the brand? They're like $20 a tire. And it's like, these are bad tires. There's someone trying to flip something. Anyway.
Mr. William asks, what video editing software do you use, and are you self-taught at editing, or did you take some basic courses?
I don't talk about the editing program I use. It's a question I get a lot, and I'm going to go with Maddox with this, who had the best page in the universe. For what I do, any editing program will work. It's not the editing program, it's you. What was his line? He said, saying your painting is good because you use the most expensive paints you could find doesn't work. Use any program. You could use Windows Movie Maker and do this. I am self-taught at editing, but I didn't teach myself much. It's just simple cuts. Just keep doing it. I mean, I'm not a fast or good video editor. A good video editor is Nino Kutro from The Smoking Tire and also Zach Clapman. They're good video editors. I have to push myself to be able to edit with any quickness. And even that, I don't know effects. I don't know anything. When you watch RCR, all you really see, it's just plain cuts and then some text. That's it. And then some keyframing of as we move a still picture around to make it look like video. You pick any editing program you want. They're all great.
Sex Babam wants to know, are there any recurring car features that bug you on older cars? Newer cars obviously have visibility and massive pillars as an issue, but what are your picks?
I don't like that older cars have no bolstering to them in the seats. It's fun to have bench seats, especially in the Falcon, but you really miss bolstering when there's nothing especially when there's no seat belts. Even if I'll put lap belts in the Falcon eventually, and that'll hold me in, but still, get in an older car that just has bench seats and take a turn really fast. You slide away from the steering wheel. Bolstering is a good thing. Recaro seats are good things.
Uncle Sam 0001 wants to know, what cars from today do you think will be cultural artifacts that will be written about in decades to come?
I'm going to use Matt Farah's line. What's going to be culturally relevant is things that technology cannot make obsolete. Carburetors already are very exotic. Visibility is going to be a thing, even in now with 90s cars. But things today that will become culturally relevant, manuals will stick around. People like to boo-hoo and wring their hands that, oh, manuals are going away. They're not going away. People are still buying them. I hope auxiliary jacks stick around. They're nice. You get better sound out of them than you do with Bluetooth. How about CD players? I wonder if some cars are coming out now that just have an auxiliary port or just have Bluetooth and no CD player. That's a good question. Yeah. They are going to go away. Eventually, those CD decks will go away.
Yeah, and Grandma's going to have to start to learn how to use an MP3 player or figure out how to get, Little Anthony and the Imperials on her smartphone.
My mom has a 2000 Mercedes SLK 230 compressor, and it has, I think, a 10-disc CD changer in the back, maybe 8 or 10 or something, enough that you can, that's her music. She puts her music in the trunk, and those CDs will never change. For the life of the car, it'll be those 8 CDs. She goes into her car and listens to her music. She presses one button, and it just cycles through those 8 CDs. That's what she likes. In all the cars she's owned, I've never known her to have the book of CDs or the sleeve above the sun visor. It's just you assign music to the car, and that's the music. And eventually the whole Bluetooth thing will have to be a thing. She's got a Passat now, which I think will do Bluetooth. I mean, it's a 2016. I think it better. Yeah. Whether she does it or not, I don't know. Maybe she just has it tuned to 99.1, the classical music station. Man. I don't know. She'll probably see this video and tell me.
Sexpa Bomb also wants to know, what's the worst car you've driven that wasn't a Brat?
Ford Festiva. That was a fun day with that car with the exhaust. But that car shouldn't have been on the road. I mean, yes, Illinois has no safety regulations. You can tell when I'm doing that video. I left a line in there where I just say to the owner, "Okay, you can drive now." It's like we got to the gas station. I've had enough of this car. We're there in the gas station. He had to crank that thing for almost 30 seconds straight. Think about 30 seconds of rah 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 rah. Heads are looking, people looking at us. Occasionally the engine would catch. I mean, what he did is he brought us his parts car, not his good Festiva, his parts Festiva. He made a great video. It was hilarious on film, but that was a very poor vehicle. I think it's in pieces now. I think that was the last hurrah of that particular Festiva. I think it's disassembled now, and rightfully so.
Which is weird because I still talk to Will, the owner of that car, and he mentioned to me a few weeks ago what happened to it, and now I don't know, I forget. But I'll look it up, but it's one of those things. Shout out to Will. What's your full history of owned cars?
3 cars. 2000 Dodge Neon. 2002 Toyota Echo. Owned that car for 10 years. 10 years. And now 2007 Honda Fit. That's it. Now, I learned to drive on a 1994 Dodge Caravan 10-year limited edition that my parents had growing up. And that was not my car. It was the family car. My brother also learned on that car. And there were other cars that floated in and out that my parents had. I learned to drive stick on a 1975 MGB. And my parents also had an Eagle Vision TSI, which I think might have been a Chrysler Concorde, not sure. But that was when Chrysler still had the Eagle brand, and they were making cars under that. And,
Oh, it's a Falcon.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I own a 1960 Ford Falcon. I have 4 cars. There you go.
Nuggies McGravy wants to know, is there a car you absolutely don't want to review for whatever reason?
A car that if someone offered it to me, and even if the owner was cool, I would say no. I guess we're talking about brands here. I'm thinking of the situation around it, like if this car's hot or is involved in a murder or something like that. That would. But the question you're asking is there a make, model, trim level of a car that I don't want to review? That I have no desire to drive and don't want to go near. I mean, they're just machines. They're cars. All right. As I look out the window for inspiration. See, I like crappy cars because they're fun and they have history to them. So I was about to say Oldsmobile Intrigue, but that was in the X-Files movie, and there would be stuff. Remember that? Yeah.
For the floor or the ceiling on, I don't even know the metaphor, but of what you would or wouldn't do. I mean, you've done a Jetta Wolfsburg edition. Right. You know, you've done the Brat. You've done like a ton of different things that like you don't particularly enjoy. So it would really have to be something that there's nothing to say about.
The closest, and even this, I could find something to say, but it would be tough. I'm going to go with Honda Cross Tour. I think it's just a Honda Accord on stilts and made to look, it's one of those crossover vehicles. And someone offered me a Honda Cross Tour. I think he's in Pennsylvania. And I looked at it and like, I know I'm not going to enjoy driving it. I'll bet it drives like mashed potatoes. I'll bet it's not as useful as a minivan. I'll bet its off-road capability is just lip service. I think a Subaru Forester would be better off-road than a Honda Cross Tour. But even then, you would dive into who buys one of these things. I think I already used the joke of a husband and wife at the dealership, and one of them is getting testy and says, let's just get something and go. That's it.
It's the car for that couple at Long's Park who were just sitting in the car next to each other, reading the newspaper and ignoring each other.
Yeah.
It's just like, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
But yeah, you're gonna get so many requests for a Cross Tour now. Just like
because there's always something to say, even if it's not the car, it's everything surrounding it. Anyway, next question.
Yeah. Cerebral Turbulence wants to know, what's the worst accident you've ever been in?
The worst accident I was ever in was a head-on collision in high school. I wasn't driving. It was one of those freak accidents where every bad thing aligned. I walked away from it. In fact, I think everybody walked away from it. One person I think left in the ambulance. Maybe she thought her neck was hurt because it just hurt, but nothing was wrong. We all went home. We were in a first-generation Dodge Neon. I think it was in 1996 or 1997. And the other car was a Honda Civic of similar year. I mean, this took place in 1999, so there are going to be early to mid-90s cars. And we bounced off of each other. I mean, both cars were just ruined, but the airbags went off, and we all just walked away. It was a low-speed accident. We were barely moving. I won't get into the details about it, but it was at an intersection at night. I think the weather was a little bit junky. It was either rainy or pissy or like generally what it is out now. What it is now. I think it was in that weird sort of March where technically it's spring, but it clearly isn't. And that smell, that kind of smell of the airbags, I'll never forget that. And yeah. I mean, it was easy for me. I wasn't driving. I got the biggest adrenaline high off of it because your adrenaline just spikes. I think I jumped out the window. I think the passenger window smashed in, and I just jumped out the window. I don't think I even tried for the door. And that was it. No broken bones. I've never had a broken bone.
No, neither have I. Yeah, I got a knock on.
I broke my toe once. Chasing a stray cat around my parents' yard in bare feet, and I ran full speed into a tree stump. And just sort of like, and when you break a toe, there's nothing you can do. There's no cast for a toe. You just get tape it to the next toe. And I was 19 at the time, and I knew like at the end of the week, my friends and I were going on a road trip to Toronto because we wanted to drink. And Toronto is, I think, 6 or 8 hours from here. We're like, yeah, going to Toronto. Gonna get shit-faced. And I did, and my foot didn't hurt for a while.
If you could go back in time, paradox-free, and give your college freshman self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Girls are way easier than you think they are. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. You don't have to try as hard as you think. In college, they're just as eager as you. Put away your little games. Put away all your worrying. Stop making plans to trick her into liking you. Yeah.
Like the figuring out like what her favorite bands are, and then buying like all their back catalog, and then casually dropping it in conversation, or just humming a song of theirs to yourself while you're in her proximity. Like that type of thing. Just forget all that. Forget the lines that you want to try. Forget the, just all of it. It's just bad times. It's not going to end well.
But the thing is, you have a hard time doing it because you're 18 and you have boners all day long. And looking back, the girls that I dated and who I was successful with, what they wanted was a semblance of a grown-up, a guy who has his shit together. Except for that one. She liked me because I at the time I was athletic, and I was a ski instructor at the time. And of course, she was coming off of another relationship, and she wanted to date the bad boy. I wasn't a bad boy, but I was sort of in my CKY stage with my BMX bike. I had this apartment, and I'd ride the BMX bike around in the apartment. And I had no tricks. I could do a bunny hop. That was it. But for her, that was good enough. To her, I was a holdover dick. Yeah. But back burner ball sack. But looking back, I would have cleaned my car. I wouldn't have had the racing stripes on my car. The fact that you have a clean car, you don't smell, really that's all you have to do. Clean car, clean dorm room, and you don't smell, and you're not really pay for everything.
Yeah, have a job.
Have a job.
Have a job.
Have a job.
That's so important. Like I mean, you can still get a girl without a job. It's just that the quality of who you can. Oh God, that sounds so bad. But I mean, it's true. Of like, you know, you've got to bring yourself to the standard of what you want to attain, which sounds like a platitude, but I mean, have a car, have a job, don't smell. Don't wear clean clothes, wear clothes that fit.
Yeah. Knock it off with your oversized hockey jerseys that you paid $100 for at Shank and Tittle or whatever that.
Yeah. It's not. It's been going for like a decade.
Right. Gee, I wore an extra large Flyers jersey that I still have. That looks so stupid on me. Yeah. If I would have just bought a medium, odds are you're a medium. You're not a double XL. Yeah. I mean, I know we're both wearing hoodies here because it's winter in Pennsylvania. Oh wait, I'm not wearing a hoodie. I'm wearing a. Yeah, wear something like that. It doesn't hurt to tuck your shirt in from time to time. Yeah. You don't have to wear a tie. I think Roman's right. The job is the first thing. Have a job, pay for everything, and don't get super drunk around her.
Yeah. This is another important thing regarding the job is that when you're in freshman and college years, you're in that super rare point of time where it doesn't matter what job you have. Like you could be working this is where you can get women and be working the 9 to 5 at the fast food restaurant or at the, the Target or whatever. It's when you're, approaching middle age and people are wondering like, oh, are you an investment banker or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And they expect you to have like this better job, or they expect you to have a house instead of an apartment, or those type of things where, the goalposts sort of move. But when you're young like that, I mean, I don't think people are necessarily looking for you to be able to put into a 401k, like right off the bat. They want somebody who can provide the semblance of stability so that, at a point in time where, life isn't really all that stable.
Yeah.
But, and also as far as the clothes that fit thing goes in the other direction too. Do not get like, if it's a little snug, just get a size larger. You don't want to risk it. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know this cause I'm portlier, but it's one of those things where as long as it fits, people aren't going to, you'll just come across better.
The jobs, we could go on and on and on about this because you're talking to two guys in their 30s who are saying, hey, here's what I learned from being a teenager. Yeah. Here's what worked and here's what didn't. This could be a whole nother video in itself. Do we have any other questions?
No, not right now. No other questions.
All right, here's a microphone.
Oh, cool. But yeah, and maybe we will at another point, but it's one of those things where, I mean, it's not really a relationship advice podcast, although I'll take those questions if you have them, but, at the end of the day, it's kind of a weird segue, I suppose, into car stuff. Although we do kind of like talk about that sort of thing in the videos of because you know relationships contextually are a lot like your relationship to your car. You know, it's you have there's a certain amount of upkeep that goes into making sure that your relationship survives, and same thing with your car, and same thing with how oh god, I don't know how to finish this sentence. We'll be back next week with more of this stuff. I'm the Roman, this is Mr. Regular, and have a good week.